Thanks for joining us. Now, the former Finance Minister, Seth Terkper, has commended the current government's economic management team and the Energy Minister for reducing electricity costs. He said Energy Minister Boakye Jako also deserved commendation because many of the negotiations that resulted in the eventual reduction of the power tariff would have to be spearheaded by him. The minority leader Haruna Idrisu is, however, doubtful the reduction will be any significant. Haruna Idrisu says, just like how the excitement that greeted the proposed reduction of taxes on spare parts fizzled out, nothing much may come out of the proposed reduction in electricity tariffs. Now, the finance minister in the 2018 budget delivered in Parliament yesterday also announced an addition of 484 megawatts of power to the national grid and the creation of over 1,500 jobs in the steel production sector as a result of supply of more power to Valco. So today we take another look at the energy sector of the 2018 budget, and to help us do that, we've been joined by ranking member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, MP for Damongo, Adam Mutawakilu. Honorable, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Great.
And before we begin the discussion itself, let's hear the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, giving us a brief, a bit of what he said yesterday on the floor of Parliament.
We have successfully refinanced the first tranche of the energy sector legacy debt through the issuance of the first ever energy bond by SLAPS. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to announce that this successfully raised 4.7 billion Ghana cedis, over $1 billion, and is now the highest ever energy bond in Africa.
Ken Ofori-Atta, they're giving details of the energy bond that was issued recently, and the man who has, well, quite some opposition to some of the statements that was made yesterday. Adam Mutawakilu is here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Great.
So, your general impression about what was said as regards the energy sector yesterday.
Thank you very much, and good morning to our cherished viewers, and more especially the good people of Damongo constituency. Yeah, I looked at the energy sector and promised by the President through the Minister of Finance a reduction in tariffs. And I listened to the President himself when he promised that there will be a drastic reduction in tariffs, about 25%, then finally 13%, and what is in the up to. So they've been consistent decline. First 25, 13, now up to 30 means it can be 1%, it can be 2%, it can be 3%.
Well, to be fair, the mining sector will get
to residential.
Yeah, to residential, but the mining sector
other,
will get 21%.
Yes,
up to 21%.
Yes.
That is.
Now, reduction in tariffs, is that the first time? No. In 2017 budget that was read in March, if you take the page 136. One of the two bullet points, reduce national electrification scheme from 5% to 3%. Reduce public lighting levy from 5% to 2%. That was what was captured in the 2017 budget that was presented to the House in March. And there was this hula baloo, the electricity tariffs will reduce drastically, and in approving the budget estimate for the ministry, most of our colleagues from the other side said that with this approval, customers should expect a drastic reduction in their tariffs. We are now 10.5 months. Have we experienced any drastic reduction in the tariffs? The answer is no. And it is because it is too insignificant. Now, when the President made a statement before the budget presentation, my conclusion was that they had discussed it with PURC, because PURC is the economic regulator. And when it comes to tariff, they play a central role. Number two is that PURC is an independent regulator. So by already preempting it, you are putting them in a very dangerous position. So we thought that already they had discussed it with PURC. PURC has approved it, and then the president came out with a statement.
But if PURC had approved it, wouldn't we know? Because PURC has to go through a number of processes, including public consultation with the electricity distributor. So it was pretty obvious that they hadn't.
The government didn't, to some extent. If the government is taking off the taxes, the levies, you don't need consultation with stakeholders. No. The government comes with, capture it, come with it. We reduce it, we amend the law, reduce it, and that is all. So government has control over the levies. So in that case, government could be emphatic. But when it comes to the tariff structures, there are certain key things that PURC has a say, a final say in what goes on. And if the government now comes to Parliament and now say they are sending a recommendation to PURC, I'm beginning to think government must be careful that they don't think PURC is a department or an agency under the Ministry of Energy. No. PURC do not work for the Minister for Energy. It's an independent. And they are putting them in a serious position. Now, if at the end of the day, PURC comes out and say that, okay, we cannot honor what you are requesting for, what happens?
But the finance minister said yesterday that they are making proposals to PURC. That tells us as Ghanaians that PURC still has the authority to refuse those proposals.
Yes. So therefore, and already it's out, and people are making comment as if the reduction has taken effect. I have realized people making comment that thank God for reducing electricity tariff. No electricity tariff had been reduced. In fact, they are now sending the recommendation. No, I'm making commentary. They are now sending the recommendation to PURC. Now, PURC will consider a lot of things. And considering those things will now come to play whether there will be a reduction. And the reduction will be how much. And these are the implications. First, when PURC is looking at it, it can look at it in terms of exchange rates. Has the cedi depreciated? And we have the automatic adjusted formula. But in the PURC law, there is always a major review of tariffs every 2 years. The first one was done last year, and the cost was 58.58 cents per kilowatt hour at an exchange rate of 3.8. Now today as we are here, the exchange rate is about 4.46. So if next year the major review takes effect, an adjustment in terms of foreign exchange had to come into effect, this drop of the cedi is about 17%. You realize that at the end of the day, there will be no impact. They could also look at it in terms of fuel. That is the generation mix. And the generation mix and the fuel that is consumed. And we know in Ghana, the difference between fuel like crude oil and that of gas, the price is not so significant. So if PURC actually wants to absorb the 13%, and the system cannot absorb the 13%, that means there will be some liabilities for government to pay.
But you see, what the finance minister said yesterday, before you go into the liabilities for government, was that they are going to suggest for a review of the tariff structure. Now, we know that before the last review of tariffs that brought about the final increments, before the realignment of tariffs, some subsidies were removed from the tariffs in the last review. Yes, and so if government, for instance, decides to reintroduce those subsidies alone, government can confidently take on some of the costs that normally goes to the consumer.
Introducing a subsidy needs parliamentary approval. So you don't just decide, okay, I'm introducing. And the budget that he has read, there's nothing like subsidies on electricity now.
But
so that means that if there is that is why I said, if government takes us with a fuel mixed and the percentage government needs, the system cannot absorb it, there will be a liability.
But does that totally rule out, I get what you're saying, but let me just ask, does that totally rule out the possibility of government taking on another cost from the tariffs?
Then they need parliamentary approval in terms of subsidies. Okay. Now, the effect of it is that it's not about 5% reduction. It's about what will be the impact on electricity bill of the ordinary Ghanaian. That is the most important thing. It's not, so if you have 1 million, you pay 100 cedis a month, with the 13%, you expect to pay 77. Is it really the case? I think that at the end of the day, the difference will be so insignificant.
13 cedis is quite...
No, I'm not talking... It won't be 13 cedis.
Why won't it be 13 cedis?
Because the system cannot absorb that. Let them go to the tariff structure and look at it and do either the electricity charge, or they want to increase the bound and all those things. It will become difficult to absorb the 13. The system.
So you are saying that government will not be able to effect a reduction of 13% as
I have a doubt. I have a doubt, a great doubt. Looking at the reckoner that I studied and the tax structure, the tariff structure, it will be difficult for the residential to hit that. It will be difficult. You know, there are several factors that is why I say first, exchange rate. The cedi we know very well is not stable. The fuel mixed, we know that it is, MIDA is coming in September, and there will be a tariff review. In next year, there will be major tariff review as well. And the indicators are not pointing. While we are doing we will look vis-a-vis the independent power producers. That if they realize that they are not meeting their target, they can decide not to be producing much, but they will still tell what we call capacity charges to cover the cost of the equipment. So government must be clear, one, and government must not preempt by putting a regulator that is independent of the government, the institution, into this type of position. I pity the CEO of PURC, because by now here his team are saying government said 13% for residential, 21% for high mining and what. So how do we achieve it? But if the government has sought approval from PURC...
But again, we don't know the discussions that have happened before they came to present this budget.
As far as we are concerned, government is here to send its recommendations to PURC. So we can't lift any veil to see what happened behind. If something happened behind, that would have been government sending the recommendation to PURC. PURC approve of the recommendations, then government comes to tell the people that this is what reduction that will take effect from January 1st. But as we speak, we don't know when it will take effect. Is it January 1st, 2018, or February or March? We don't yet know. So customers shouldn't jubilate about a reduction. There's no reduction as we speak. And we don't know how much the reduction will be until PURC approve of any reduction.
Let's talk about Dumso. One of the main reasons that has been given by this government for the end to Dumso by this government, according to them, is that the energy sector doesn't have the finances in the energy sector are being dealt with quite quickly. And so they have enough money to buy fuel for generating plants. And for instance, this energy bond is coming up, which is, also going to free up space in the financial sector to be able to increase lending and what have you. So the government is saying that it's doing very well in that general area, and that's how come we've seen an end to doing so.
There was improvement in electricity generation after December 2015. The Dumso we had a long history. We had 2007, then 2012, and one of them was cause is the destruction of the West African gas pipeline. That actually resulted in a shortfall in the supply of gas to Sonon Asogle, which is a single source fuel. It takes only gas. It cannot...
Well, a lot of causes were given, weren't there? One of them being a debt that we owed the WAFCO
we still have the
well.
debt. We still have the debt. Have we paid? No. So that means that it's not because you have made payment to the energy sector. Two, we needed, most of the plants were old, and therefore regular maintenance became an issue. So most of times they were not available for generation. Three, there was drought, and VRA was operating at a very low level of low-level reservoir. As a result, they couldn't utilize the maximum installed capacity or available installed capacity that is in it. Bui equally affected Bui, which affected Pond Dam as well in terms of the hydro. So naturally, there was a drastic drop in terms of generation. The government then took a decision to bring in emergency power plants, and one of them is Car Power. They brought the first phase of Car Power 225, which was criticized by the MPP government, why GNPC should provide a guarantee of $100 million. They took it to Supreme Court and lost. And therefore were able to get 225 megawatts of electricity. And the fuel was done in such a way that they engaged another agency, in this case GNPC, to provide the fuel. So they have a commercial agreement with GNPC. So there was dedicated source of fuel. It helped a lot. Then America came on board and also connected to the West African, our Atuabo gas, which was more dedicated than the West African gas pipeline. And therefore, these two coming into effect stabilize the electricity situation that we have. In terms of Car Power, when MPP came, we believe that a matter of principle, if you have even lost the case, when you come for a matter of principle being against it, they came in with the second phase that we're working on, and that is the 450 megawatts Car Power. And they also came to Parliament with 174 million guarantee through Litasco, which we approve. And as a result, the Car Power came and they had this 445 megawatts.
So what you're saying is that the building of energy capacity and the provision of fuel from places like Atuabo is what stabilized the power.
Is what stabilized. And Car Power arrangement in that agreement to engage another agency to supply, not government. You know, most of the IPPs, government provided fuel. But
I remember getting to the end of last year, we had to import some barrels of crude oil.
Yes.
Getting to the end of last year, because we still had fuel supply challenges.
We still have, up to date, we still have some fuel supply challenges.
So we can't say that that situation was normalized, was it?
No, it was normalized. The doom so we need to experience in 2014, 2015. 2016 it was normalized. And that is why
I said
have
power
there
cuts
were there will always be power cuts. 2 weeks ago, I was in Prime, and the power cut there was serious.
Now, the reason I'm saying this, the reason I'm asking this question is that Deputy Power Minister John Jenapo, for instance, came out to tell us around September, October 2016 that yes, there's a switchover of, they were doing a switchover in Abuaze, of the thermal plants. We are going to switch over from light crude to gas. There was, at a point in time, Ameri was undergoing maintenance, and so we could not have a supply of gas to from Atuabo to Abuaze. A number of these issues came, and we were still experiencing power cuts towards the end of the year. Right up coming through to even this year, early parts of this year, under this government, we experienced power cuts to a point. And like nationwide far-reaching power cuts as a result of lack of fuel that was in the system. But now, that is not there. And that's what this government is referring to, no?
What I'm saying is that as of 2016, the power had stabilized.
What's your definition of stabilized?
Stabilized means we have the required installed capacity and available capacity to supply. When there is a switch, it's normal that when you are switching from one fuel, let's say light crude, to gas, you don't just switch a valve and as a result, the gas, you have to do maintenance work and it takes some time and it is normal. And that is why we built up the installed capacity. From 2012, it was 2,885 megawatts to over 3,000 megawatts. so that in case of switching of one generating plant, the others can come to play. And today, Volta River Authority is not complaining that the water level is very low. We is not complaining like we used to complain in 2015 there, the water level. So if these other plants are being shut down for maintenance, Volta River Authority only need to increase production to balance up. But as of 2015, that movement able to switch wasn't flexible at all. So today, if they are shutting down one plant, they call on VRA, okay, increase the production, and then they increase to take care of the shortfall. And that is how it should be.
I asked your definition for stabilize because I wanted to know, for the average Ghanaian out there, doing so stabilizing for him would mean when he turns on his switch, he gets power. Yeah. But within 2016, at different points in time, that was not happening.
That doesn't mean that we are in doom so. Even now, there are occasions where we experience it. There are occasions we experience. As I said, I was in Prime 2 weeks ago, and it was severe. I'm okay. So localized doom so will go on. But at the end of the day, we have the enough generating plants today as a result of the investment done by His Excellency former President Mahama in the energy sector. And as a result, it translated, and with the good rains, and therefore via Volta River Authority, and we are not so much complaining, there is easy to switch off from one to the other. Would have been a severe doom so if, assuming the rainfall pattern had been very low, and therefore VRA, Bui, and Pong cannot generate. It will be very difficult to But
earlier in this conversation, you did say that today, fuel supply is a challenge that if it's not dealt with, will be plunged back into doom zone.
Yes.
Exactly.
It has some level. But let me tell you, when we're negotiating with Car Power, that is where this time we transferred the responsibility for fueling to the generator, the one generating. So Car Power, they are providing their own fuel. So if there is a shutdown by Car Power because they cannot provide fuel, I don't think we'll be responsible.
But Car Power
then
is
early
not
power
is not our only.
No, early power that is coming.
Plant.
No, we moved beyond government being the main supplier of fuel. While government is doing that, we are also investing in our hydrocarbons, that is the oil and gas. As today, Atuabo is working very well, taking gas from Jubilee, and mid this year they started taking gas from 10 projects.
Next year,
Sankofa, which we invested heavily on, and which was even criticized by the opposition. Now, next year it will come on board. So you see, the fuel side is stabilized. 3, President Mama started with LNG to the eastern side of the corridor, that is the Tema side. You realize that most of the gas are in the western. With the LNG, it will also help supply the eastern corridor so that stability comes. So it was a very broad approach taken by the NDC to solving doom so, and that is what materialized. So does that and I could realize when the minister came, most of the LNG agreement, he said this and that, he had cancelled A or B, and he has signed one with Gazprom. As we speak, I'm following her to get the agreement so that I can peruse it. It hasn't yet been given to me, and I believe that JMPC will present it to me, to the committee, and therefore I'll have the opportunity to peruse it. 2, the minister said Equatorial Guinea. The president had signed heads of agreement, and by December, there will be LNG supply.
LNG from
up to date. Nothing had come to us for approval.
Okay.
For it to. That day, I told him that it's not possible. Getting LNG project within 4 months, you are telling us that by December, it's 1.5 months to December. The agreement even hasn't come to Parliament. Because when the heads of agreement are signed, you now need to go and sign the LNG agreement. And it doesn't take the twinkle of an eye to get it done. And it is coming to reality what I said, that by December it will not be possible.
Okay. So we are speaking with Adam Mutawakilu on the energy sector yesterday's budget presentation. Very, very insightful discussions there. But would have to wrap up. I just want you to state that I know it will be difficult for you to say, noticing your position, but looking at the energy sector investment that has been done over the past fiscal year, what has gone right in this government's dealings?
So far, I'm assessing them. And when you take generation, which I didn't talk about, they promised 1,200 megawatts. They have delivered 445, which is the cap power, 445. They are exing 487 next year. But this year, 445.
That's powerful.
That is, yes. So that means they have only achieved 37% of the generation. Let's come to rural electrification. In the 2017 budget, they said they wanted to connect 2,185 communities to rural, to national grid. Yesterday's budget, only 289 so far that they were able to connect to the national grid. That is 13% achieved. So that has only moved the access to electricity from 83.24% to 83.64%. That is a change of 0.4. And I don't think that is a good performance.
My question was, what has gone right?
What has gone right is the investment that NDC had invested is yielding results. And they want to take credit without giving
the Honorable Secretary has lauded this current finance minister and the energy minister for working on the reduction in electricity tariffs.
That is what I just said. If I don't know whether they quoted him right.
No,
there's no reduction. Because what they said is that he lauded them for the reduction. And I'm saying that as we speak, there is no reduction. We don't even know the percentage of reduction. Because until PURC approved the recommendation as expected by government, which I think they are putting PURC at a fixed corner, we cannot say there is a reduction. Somebody tells you, I'll increase your salary by 50%, and you started celebrating, going to bank to withdraw an increment, additional 50%. Are you not deceiving yourself? Ghanaians' expectations, you must be careful with this expectation. If not, we'll have challenges. So I expect Ghanaians to treat this percentage with caution, that they don't use it and then thinking that something big will come tomorrow, this month, and no reduction. Because the budget is for 2018. There haven't been a reduction. It's a recommendation. Right. And we don't think recommendations as actual action being done.
Right, thank you very much, Adam Mutawakilu. He's ranking member of the Mines and Energy Committee, and I'm sure he'd love for me to add that he's member of Parliament for Damongo.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now let's continue with our conversation on the budgets, because there were wild jubilations as the Abosiokan Spare Parts Hub after the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, read his first budget in 2017. The minister had announced plans that the President Akufo-Addo-led government would abolish some taxes, including import duties on specific vehicle parts. After the 2018 budget was ready yesterday, with the finance minister reiterating the point about the scrapping of taxes on specific vehicle parts, we have been finding out from the spare parts dealers whether this has reflected in their pockets.
That in the 2017 budget, when the finance minister read the budget, I mean, a lot of the spare parts dealers here were raptured into a state of hilarity. They were excited because the finance minister announced that they were going to abolish some taxes. The one that, you know, they were directly connected to was the one that had to do with the importation of spare parts. A lot of them here were very excited. In fact, yesterday, when the finance minister read the budget, in fact, he reiterated that they have indeed abolished the tax on the importation of specific vehicle parts. Well, today we are here at Abosiokan, as rightly mentioned, to find out from some of these spare parts dealers how they feel about it, and then 1 year on, what it has been like, you know, for them.
They are still paying the taxes. And even if some of us, we are not, the reason why we are not feeling it as it's supposed to be is it's not all of us that can go to port. Only a few people can import goods, and we are retailers. If only the few people, those who can those who can come in with the goods, they are about 10 or 100 people. And with the retailer, we are more than them, meaning those who are bringing the goods will enjoy that taxes. We at Abosoka as retailers, we are not benefiting anything from that.
Last year budget and this year's budget, I know, sir, there's only 1 year. You can't adjudge any government. You can't give it judgment. So 1 year, let's give them opportunity, or let's give them small time. He can do it. I know that Nana can do it. Because if you go port now, everything is very, very, very good. Everything is going well. Because our Excellency Vice President has told us that if you go Harbour, you spend more time. It is going well. See, I cleared my container only last week. Only 4 hours. Container is out.
Wow.
Yes.
Is it because of the paperless?
Yes, that paperless is going well. Okay. It's very, very, very good idea. So I will support the government to do it, because only 1 year, you can't judge him. Let's give it about 1 or 2 years. He can deliver.
Well, he's saying, your colleague is saying that he's not feeling, the tax cuts, in his pocket. They said they've abolished, taxes on importation of specific vehicle parts. He says he's not feeling it in his pocket.
Oh, that's why I told you, say, let's give the government more time.
Okay.
Yes. Everything's going well. Yes, yes. Okay. And I know that Nana can deliver. I know him because he started, free SHS. Yes, everything is step by step.
Okay.
So let's support the government to do it for us.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, still connected to this though. Still connected to taxes. Yesterday they also announced some other measures. Especially for electricity tariffs, for instance. Government says that he's going to cut that down to about 13%. You guys use a lot of electricity here. I'm sure you're excited by that one.
Yes, please. I'm so excited that they said so. But it's like they've been saying it and they don't deliver to our favor. So until they will put it onto practice before we know that what they said yesterday is working.
I'm sure you also, you have your children in school.
Yes.
And all of that.
All nephews, they are on the schools.
Okay, great.
So
I think maybe for your package, I'm sure you can relate very well to this package as well. That going forward, basic education certificate examination, registration fees is going to be borne by government. I'm sure you're excited about that.
I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very excited because I have some 20 nephews. I must use my own pocket money to send them to go to school. So as the government bring this machine, I'm very glad. So I use my spirit to follow this government to achieve all the purpose we do it for me.
Okay. Let me find out from you. Finally, what will be your expectations for the next budget? What are you expecting?
I can't tell, my brother. I can't tell. I can't tell. Okay. Until I can't tell. I can't tell. I don't have anything to.
Okay. Do you have any expectations?
Electricity. Formerly last year, 2 weeks I spent 50 Ghana. Now, electricity. 2 weeks, 30 Ghana. I spend it for my house.
Okay, so these are our voices from Abosoka, and of course, we started the conversation talking about spare parts. We delved into other areas as well. Mixed reactions here at Abosoka. And in fact, if you walk around and talk to the people occupying some of the shops here, these are the same reactions that you get, from them. Mixed feelings, mixed reaction all over here at Abosoka.
So watching News Desk on Joy News, we'll take a quick breather.